Us once again here from the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Guam. We're going live with the latest on what remains Tropical Storm Bolaven as it makes its final approach to the Mariana Island just shortly with this brief. So stay tuned as people are joining in this live broadcast. Tracking it hour by hour with the latest fix of that center of circulation. We can see a very clearly defined circulation center in this tropical storm. Not yet visible in the visible satellite imagery, but that may be coming later today or tomorrow as it gets its ongoing intensification. Again, we'll get started just a few more moments. Brandon is over there. Comments, concerns, especially for the folks in Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, as this is likely to make a direct passage through the CNMI later this afternoon. Go ahead and type in your questions. What are we expecting? What should we see? What should we plan and prepare for? Text those questions now. Edwin's sitting next to me. He's ready to respond once I take over his computer shortly. To everyone at the CNMI Homeland Security and Emergency Management Office. I know they are watching us on the big screen over there. A big thank you to all the folks of the government of the CNMI for the preparedness efforts that have been going on underway. We had a great discussion about tropical cyclones and incoming typhoons possible later this year. That was back in early July. Again, thank you to and also a big thank you to the governor and lieutenant governor here on Guam and the folks at the Guam Homeland Security Office of Civil Defense. It was my pleasure seeing you all this morning just a few moments ago in the EOC. Kudos to you all for all the great work for maximizing preparedness efforts on Guam. We cannot do it without you and our media partners. Y'all are our voice. Thank you for helping us get this underway. So as of our last advisory, that was advisory number 12, that was transmitted at 7 o'clock this morning. We do have some good news for Guam. It's not all good news. We're still expected to have a pretty bumpy afternoon across the islands, more so in the CNMI, but there are some good caveats considering we're having a typhoon likely to pass through the islands in the CNMI later this afternoon. At 7 o'clock this morning, that tropical storm was located about 13.4 miles north, or 13.4 degrees north, 147 degrees east. That was about 150 miles due east of Guam. That is good news for us as it continues to gain latitude. The likelihood of a direct pass over Guam is near nothing at this point. So that is good news for Guam, not so much for the CNMI. That was 130 miles east-southeast of Rota and about 145 miles southeast of Tinian and Saipan. The intensity remains at tropical storm force with maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour. Typhoon force winds begin at 74, so we're just shy of typhoon force winds, and as currently forecast, it is expected to pass somewhere between Rota and Tinian. The 7 o'clock forecast pass does show a passage between Rota and Tinian with those strongest typhoon force winds keeping offshore of both Rota and Tinian. This would be a best case scenario if this track case scenario for the offshore. And Edwin, I'm going to slide right over to your screen to show this plot. This is our forecast plot showing the 7 o'clock forecast of Tropical Storm Bolaven. Right now, you can see Tinian and Saipan right in the crosshairs of that pass. Let me take over your mouse right quick, Edwin. Thank you. So we're going to zoom in the camera right there. So this is the typhoon force winds right there in red. Rhoda is located here. Tinian is right up there, right in the crosshairs of this tropical cyclone. Any northward deviation would bring these tropical or these typhoon force winds over Tinian and Saipan, and any southward deviation would bring those typhoon force winds over Rhoda. Right now, it looks pretty good, but there may be a little bit of a wobble of the eye, bringing those course change more toward the west-northwest. So we're going to be watching that closely in the radar imagery, but I'm going to turn this plot off to give you an hour-by-hour play. These are the wind fields as of 7 o'clock this morning. The blue being tropical storm force winds of 39 miles per hour and up. Those yellow shades, those are destructive or severe tropical storm force winds of 58 miles per hour. As we move through hour by hour this morning, those winds are creeping closer toward us. So this is looking at 8 o'clock this morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock this morning. The outer ring of these tropical storm force winds are likely to start reaching Rhoda, particularly with those heavier rain bands. Moving on to 11 o'clock this morning, it's nearing Guam and Saipan. 12 o'clock noon, those tropical storm force winds are enveloping all of the CNMI and just offshore of Guam. 1 o'clock this afternoon, 2 o'clock this afternoon, those severe tropical storm force winds now reaching over Rhoda and nearing Tinian. This is looking at 3 o'clock this afternoon and 4 o'clock. So this is about CPA, closest point of approach, as of our 7 o'clock forecast track. These strongest winds, again, highlighted in the red shade, those are the typhoon force winds of a Category 1, 80 mile per hour typhoon Bolaven. That's assuming that the intensification trend continues over the next several hours. So again, closest point of approach looks like it's going to be around mid-afternoon today, and then it's going to continue pulling away. This is the good news for Guam. Guam's halfway in the blue and halfway out. Those in southern Guam, y'all are going to be the lucky ones again with this tropical cyclone passage. Y'all are going to have minimal effects, but we're going to talk about the rainfall coming up next once we hop over to Mike Ziobro shortly to talk about the Guam and the CNMI forecast, and Brandon. Moving on to 5 o'clock this evening, those winds are still over the CNMI and starting to pull away from Guam at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. It's still across the CNMI, so we want to make sure that people are still sheltered and in place from this point onward through the overnight hours. And finally, at 10 o'clock tonight, 11 o'clock, pulling away from Rhoda, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., those tropical storm force winds are likely to pass away from the region. So we're looking at that air cone. This is that forecast track right now. Guam is out of the crosshairs of a direct passage. That is good news, but we are watching this closely. This is where we're going to be cutting hairs, splitting hairs over the next grays or Tinian and Saipan grays. Stay tuned. I'm going to bring this over to Brandon, who's going to go into the deeper details about the storm environment and what has been happening over the last 12 hours.
Yeah, so thank you, Landon. Some of the latest data that came in overnight, we're looking at some of the surface winds. And so here we have Guam and Tinian, Saipan, Rhoda, and so all these reds are indicating 25, 30 knot winds. So this is all that inflowing southwesterly flow right into the center of Bolaven. And then of course we have in yellow indicating 20 to 25 knot winds, increasing to 25, 30. And so this is ahead of the system. So just from this picture, there is an asymmetric wind field. So on the western quadrant, the winds are tending to be weaker, but then the stronger winds wrap around the north, the east, and the southern side of the storm. So as Bolaven continues toward the Marianas, we're going to see those winds do nothing but increase. Now overnight, we're looking at the moonlit cloud tops. This is from VIIRS day-night band satellite imagery, and you can see the ominous cloud bands stretching out ahead of the tropical storm. So still some lightning within the monsoon flow south of the system, and then the bulk of the cloud cover right there in the white. It looks pretty ominous, and so this is just steadily coming right toward us. So this is what we have to expect later on today. Putting on another lens onto the satellite imagery, now we're looking at the intense convection, so the heaviest showers, thunderstorms, where you have those updrafts really pushing up the precipitation up into the higher atmosphere. This is where those torrential rains are located. So we've got some south of Guam, but we've still got the bulk right there near the center of the tropical storm. And this is just going to come right toward the Marianas today, tonight, and into tomorrow. One thing to note is a lot of the heavier showers still is on the southern. So that is why this threat is going to exist, especially for Guam and Rota, for significant rainfall potential. Still the same thing for Guam and Rota. Now sometimes we do see that redistribution of the heavier showers. So all four of the islands from Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan should anticipate those significant heavy rains. Looking at the latest weather radar imagery, you can see the center of Bolaven. We're starting to see increasingly better organized eye. And the latest trends, just for the past few hours, it does look to be coming a little bit more westerly. And so the overall track does favor a motion toward Rota and Tinian, right in the open waters. However, you can see where the eye has gone just a little bit left of this track. So this is one of those bobbles. So this is what we anticipate. This is what we communicate. A very small shift can have notable differences of impacts for any small location. And so this is what we want to keep in mind, especially for everybody listening, that these little bobbles will bring potentially very large changes in conditions experienced from location to location. So that is the threat until the system has pushed out of the Marianas. And so moving ahead, this is the full picture, satellite and radar put together. There's a lot of emphasis on closest point of approach, but that does not necessarily mean that once we've had that closest point of approach, conditions will immediately start to improve. And for instance, we've got all these showers pushing well south and then wrapping around the east side. So remember, the wind field, the strongest winds are on the north, the east, and the south. So once the center has passed, we could still see those winds increasing, and that will be in the overnight into early tomorrow morning hours. So do keep that in mind. Closest point of approach does not necessarily result in improving conditions immediately. Look at the infrared satellite imagery. You can just see where we're seeing the grays, the whites, the blue cloud tops. It's a very heavy showers, very heavy thunderstorms. Generally lopsided to the southern peripheral side of Bolaven. And so that's just going to continue to sweep across the Marianas. And so I think, there we go. Looking at the moisture content, we've been showing this for the past few days. And so again, where you see the darker greens, the reds, the dark reds, that is where there is significant moisture in the atmosphere that is just ready to convert into downfalling precipitation and potential flood threats. So this is snaking all the way across western Micronesia within that westerly monsoon flow, and then right up into tropical storm Bolaven. This will continue through us, but even after the tropical storm has passed through the islands, we've still got all this moisture content that will continue right over the area. So again, after CPA, after that closest point of approach, we still have notable rainfall threats. And so even no matter what time the islands drop out of those core conditions, keep in mind, conditions could still be hazardous on the roads. And so you definitely want to take your time before venturing out of your shelters, out of your houses, and wait for the all clear, but allow the public services to ensure roads are safe for traveling. So Landon had already shown some of the forecast wind graphics. And again, just to reiterate, Tuesday 4 p.m. So this afternoon, the system has sped up just a little bit, not much. We're going to see inclement weather conditions, hazardous conditions all day. They're just going to increase from here this morning. They're going to steadily worsen throughout the day and continue into the overnight hours. So do keep that in mind. And again, for that rainfall threat, this is satellite derived rainfall potential, and then using a forecast track to shift it forward for 24 hours. We're seeing Guam. It has dropped a little bit because the storm is getting closer. The convection, those heavy showers and thunderstorms have been not consistently spread all around the center. So we're seeing some deviation in the guidance However, there's still that potential for around 12, maybe up to 15 inches of rainfall. And so that is going to be the big threat, not just solely on Rhoda, but across all of the islands. So that is why we really want to keep alert, and we ask that you keep in mind there is that significant rainfall threat. Now, as we shift gears, we're starting to get some increasing trends in the seas. So Guam, Rhoda, Tinian, Saipan up there on the left. This is satellite-based sea heights. So we have satellites orbiting constantly, and they're looking down. They're giving us combined sea heights. And so just a little bit off center from Tropical Storm Bolaven, we are seeing seas reaching 16, 17, 18 feet. Now, again, this is well away from the center, but even then, those seas are definitely increasing, and we're going to see those increasing trends continue today and tonight, tomorrow. Looking at the Ipan buoy off of the east coast of Guam, we have seen seas steadily rising 10 to 12 feet. That is hazardous to small craft. That is exactly what we expected to see happen. We may not see seas increase too much more, not at the Ipan buoy, not on the east coast of Guam, because soon those winds are going to shift to the southwest, and that will alleviate some of the conditions on the east side of Guam. However, seas will steadily rise on the west side of the islands. Now, as we shift northward to Tinapag, looking at the buoy, conditions are not too crazy yet. We're seeing those seas reach up to 8 to 9 feet. However, looking at the maximum sea height, we have seen waves starting to reach up to 15 feet. And looking at the model trend, right here in red, this is the big concern. As the intensifying Bolaven approaches and passes near Tinian and Saipan just to the south, we could see those seas reaching up to 20 to 22 feet or so. So this is going to be very dangerous across the waters. This is going to result in increasing dangerous surf, especially along the windward coast of the islands, and then also some coastal inundation. Currently looking at the wave energy spectrum, all that wave energy is coming out of the northeast, but that will steadily change to the east and then southeast for Tinian and Saipan with the anticipated passage to the south. And so do keep that in mind. With that said, I'm going to just go to my last slide, and then we're going to pass over to Ken Clisciolti, lead forecaster for today. We do have a full house, and so Ken, go ahead and take it with the conditions for the region.
And while Brendan goes over to give Ken the microphone, I just want to recap the status of watches and warnings. We do have a typhoon warning that remains in effect for Rhoda, Tinian, and Saipan. A tropical storm warning and a typhoon watch remains in effect for Guam. Tropical storm watch also remains in effect for the northern islands of the CNMI. So, Ken, you're going to talk to us about Western Micronesia, and then we're going to hop over to Mike Ziobo, who's going to talk about the forecast for Guam and CNMI. Ken, tell us what's happening in Palau and Yap State.
Okay, for Palau and Yap State, right now, probably you may or may not be seeing some showers right now, but it's very close. Throughout the day, it's going to be breezy conditions. We can expect winds on the islands up to 25 miles per hour. There's small craft advisory winds out over the waters. And the showers, as Bolaven continues to move out of the area, it's going to pull the monsoon trough farther north, and it's going to bring those showers into Yap and Palau a little bit later on today. So we're looking at numerous showers, and we may see some heavy rainfall at times. We'll likely see some heavy rainfall at times. So be prepared. Keep things, if you have in an area that's prone to localized flooding, get things up off the ground. And then those conditions are expected to continue until Bolaven gets far enough away that the trough gets pulled far enough north. So for the next few days, you are looking at breezy to windy conditions for both Yap and Palau, but Palau will clear out earlier, and then Yap will continue to see the stronger winds for a little bit longer and the heavier showers. As far as Chuuk, everything is pretty much cleared out at Chuuk for right now, and showers are up to the north, so you're looking to dry out a bit now at Chuuk.
All right, we're going to hop right over to Mike Ziobo, who's going to talk about Guam and the CNMI forecasts. Yeah, tight. As we go right over to Mike Zero, tell us what people in Guam and CMI can handle over the next 24 hours. And we're talking about a lot of rainfall for Guam and also a lot of wind and typhoon force conditions likely for the CNMI.
Yeah, well, for Guam, we're looking at maybe 20 to 25 miles an hour with gusts to 35 miles an hour showers, and we've already been getting some gusty winds in that 30-mile-an-hour range over Guam this morning, so that's going to continue through the day. And even tonight, it should be maybe even gusting around 35 miles an hour in the showers. Now going north to Tinian and Saipan, they had already gusting into the mid-30s up there already with some of the earlier showers. And we're just going to see the winds continuing through the day up there, maybe 20 to 35 miles an hour in the morning, increasing to 40 to 50, and they may be getting gusts to 70 miles an hour when the storm is going, passing through the Tinian Channel, and that'll be like late this afternoon, this evening. And things would still be tapering off by tonight, but not that much. They're still going to get gusty winds to maybe 70 to 75 miles an hour tonight as the storm is still close enough to them tonight, and then it'll taper off even more so tomorrow in the afternoon. Like they were mentioning, the seas are going to stay up for all the area, and we're going to get surf that'll be very dangerous. Maybe surf up to 20 to 25 feet on some exposures. So it's just dangerous conditions. Don't go out in the water at all. Like he was mentioning, the EPAN buoy was showing already had maximum seas up to 20 feet. And so it's very dangerous out in these waters.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. As we wrap up this broadcast, we will be broadcasting live sometime this afternoon. It might be shortly after 2 o'clock this afternoon. That'll be our advisory number 13 and around 2 o'clock. But we're watching the wind speeds across the region, and those winds are gradually picking up. At the Guam airport, we've already had a sustained wind of 16 miles per hour, but with a gust of 31 miles per hour. We're going to see those winds rapidly increase over the next couple hours with that CPA likely passing through the Mariana Islands mid-afternoon, around 3 to 6 o'clock this afternoon. So those winds will rapidly increase as these rain bands start to fill in. So just to recap, our 7 o'clock information, that was located about 150 miles east of Guam at around 13.4 north, 147.0 east, moving northwestward quickly at 16 miles per hour. Maximum winds are at 70 miles per hour. Intensification is still expected as it approaches, likely to be passing through the CNMI somewhere between Rota and Tinian. It might be closer to Rota. We'll be watching this closely as a Category 1 typhoon. Typhoon warning for Rota, Tinian, and Saipan remains in effect for typhoon force conditions of 74 miles per hour or more are expected. In the next couple hours, tropical storm warning in effect for Guam with a typhoon watch. That means that tropical storm force winds of 39 miles per hour or more are expected in the next couple hours. Flood watch remains in effect for Guam and the CNMI. Small craft advisories for Palau, small craft advisories for Yap, and high surf advisory for west-facing reefs of Palau through Wednesday. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of information coming up around 2 o'clock as this is making its final approach. And just to recap, the CNMI, the governor has placed Typhoon Condition 1 for Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. That will remain the case. Typhoon Condition 1 means that typhoon force winds of 74 miles per hour or more are expected, with those damaging winds of 39 miles per hour arriving in a couple hours. And for Guam, Guam remains in Condition of Readiness 1. Remain indoors. Shelters are open. GMH and GRMC will provide updates, of course, as well as flight updates. Stay tuned to the Guam Homeland Security for flight status. Governor Leon Guerrero has placed Guam in Condition Readiness 1 at 10 o'clock yesterday evening, and that means that destructive winds are possible within the coming hours. The community is advised to remain indoors until Core 4 is announced. That'll probably be sometime on Wednesday. Again, we are breathing a little bit easier here on Guam as this is all expected to track well to our north, but we're going to have a rain event. This is going to be causing flooding over the next 24 hours, possibly up to a foot of rain across Guam and the CNMI over the next 24 hours. Stay indoors, stay put. We're going to be feeling this this afternoon, so don't underestimate the power of nature. We're expecting tropical storm conditions on Guam that can still wreck your day. So stay tuned. We'll see you sometime after 2 o'clock this afternoon.